What's going on, guys? Byron from ETA Kitchen. What's going on, guys? Byron from ETA Kitchen. And we are going to start the process. I'm still waiting on my fermentation jars to show up, but that's okay because I know they're going to get here hopefully in an hour or so. So step one, we're going to make a Thai chili hot sauce. So I've got a green stuff that I'm naming after Mr. Llama as Llama's Guts, and the red stuff being named after Mr. Pandar as Pandar's Revenge. So I've got my handy dandy toaster oven here, and make sure there's nothing on the top because it gets hot. We're going to pull it out from the back of the wall here a little bit, click the power button, and we're going to go ahead and first we're going to wash our chilies, and then we're going to roast them with some garlic. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Alrighty guys, so we've got our Thai chilies, and these are, I believe, serranos. The longer ones are serranos. The shorter ones are the Thai chilies. So what we're going to do, and I got the same for the green ones here, what we're going to do is we're just going to rinse them off really good. We want to make sure there's no dirt, no junk that we don't want fermenting. Now, if you're handling some of the hotter peppers, you always want to remember to try to wear gloves, okay? But since these are Thai chilies, they're not really that hot, it's okay. When we get into the habanero stuff, you're going to see me wear gloves when we do this and we handle the chilies. But it doesn't really take too much. You just want to give it a nice rinse under water. A little massage, if you will. You can probably see this side a little better. You can, if you really want to, you can soak it in some veggie wash, which we're going to do next. This is just going to help get the initial, stuff off. And as with any peppers, they're grown in dirt. They're grown in soil, so you just want to make sure, because when you're fermenting stuff, you want to make it as clean and sterile an environment as possible, because nobody likes bad bacteria. I mean, come on. When's the last time you met a good bacteria that you, or when's the last time you met a bad bacteria that you like? That's right. Nobody likes that bad stuff. Go away, bad stuff. So we're going to make good, safe, healthy, home fermented hot sauce. And this is just the first two of several that I'm going to start brewing over the next couple of episodes. And if you guys want to see some other stuff, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Alright, so now we've got these washed, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to use veggie wash. Get some of that excess water out of there. So we're going to take a bowl like so. And 1 to 2 capfuls. Because this is less than 5 liters, which is, well, actually that's about a gallon. 5 liters is a little bit over a gallon, so I'll do 1.5 capfuls. And we're just going to soak it for 1 to 2 minutes. And that's just going to help get rid of the last little bit. You want to make sure there's no pesticides on it, stuff like that. For the most part, chili peppers are organic, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So we'll go ahead and give these a soak, and I'm going to keep them separated as we go through this, but I'm going to give them a soak, and then I'm going to bring it over here to the rinse, and then we're going to put this in for the soak. So we're going to be back in about 2 minutes or so. And we're back. So that's been a 2-minute soak. We're going to go ahead and move that out of the fruit and veggie wash. We're going to go ahead and move this in. So, fruit and veggie wash, if you've never tried it before, it's absolutely wonderful stuff. And I've found that everything I clean off in it tastes so much better. So I just kind of let it do its thing. Now we're going to go ahead and rinse these. Hopefully my voice is going to come out over the sound of the sink. But right now it just requires a simple rinse. Nothing overly fancy. And we're going to get these bad boys ready to roast. Also, the roasting doesn't take all that long, it just takes a little bit. We're going to go ahead and roast them. Now, some people prefer to make their hot sauce without the seeds, so it's not as hot. I'm not most people. And as the green one is called Llama guts, I'm just going to go ahead and let it hit you so it's all up in the guts. We ain't no quitters around these parts, boys. Once again, you're just going to give them a good thorough wash. This is a second wash now. Rinse off all the veggie wash. The other thing it does is some of the vegetables have a naturally protective coating on them. Well, I can't really call it naturally, but like for example, if you go eat an apple, you notice the apple has a little bit of wax on it. That wax is for preservation. So here we are, we're at 1:30 now. We're almost there. And then we're done with this, and we can move on to the fun part, which is roasting the peppers, which I'm going to show you how to do so that you don't have any pepper explosions on accident. And we're going to roast garlic, onions, and peppers. I have red onions because that's what I have, and I have some chopped up brown onions, and we're going to use those as well. And we're going to do some carrots. So I'm going to roast the onions, garlic, and carrots together, and then this is the secret. That's going to leave a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan. Then we're going to put the chilies in that oil to roast. That's how you do it. Let me close this. Okay, so here we are at the 2-minute mark. Yep, 2 minutes exactly. Since we're done with this, go ahead and get rid of it. The onions and garlic have already been done and already been processed. I just wanted to show you this part with the peppers themselves. And again, this is the second rinse. So you just want to, you're going to make that last final, make sure everything is off of it, make sure the veggie wash is off of it, which the veggie wash is not really all that harmful. All it is, let's see, a natural formula tested with relevant US and UK approvals. See, that sounds totally safe. Plantarin, sucrose, esters, cocoa, glutamate, blah blah blah. It's basically vinegar and a super mild soap. That's what it is. And we'll take all the mystery out of that science there. So these are good and rinsed off. And that's all she wrote. Now we're going to move back over to the chopping. Alrighty guys, and we're back. So as you can see, I've got roasted red onions and roasted garlic. Yummy, yummy, yummy. That's going to be a really nice addition to the sauce. And now we're going to go ahead and do the peppers. So I'm going to show you the setup here in the toaster oven of doom. And what we've got is just a little bit of olive oil on top of some aluminum foil. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the heat for a little bit. And we're going to talk safety with peppers. Okay? Now, I had to put these in a bowl because we're trying to keep everything clean and sterile. If you notice, I've gone ahead and I've cut off the end of the peppers. So the stem part, this part, you want to cut that off. And you want to cut that off because as these are roasting, the heat and steam is going to build up inside the pepper and it's going to explode. But if you cut the end off, you've just given it a place to go. So that's all you're really trying to do. Now I'm going to go ahead and roast these, and I'm going to roast the green peppers at the same time. And I'm going to roast some carrots because I like carrots. And we're putting carrots in the hot sauce. So, you know, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? Anyway, we'll be back. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start getting this started. Slide you over here so we can see. Woo. All right, cool. And this is just, I've got 2 layers of aluminum foil to contain the oil because you don't want to make a mess. And you're just going to add, because I'm doing the peppers, I'm going to add just a little bit more olive oil. That's it. That's all it takes, just a little splash. If I had to estimate, I would say that's about 2 tablespoons of oil. You can do this in a regular oven. I do it in the toaster oven of doom because I like it in the toaster oven of doom. So I'm just going to slide that under to keep this level. And these are the peppers that are required for the llama guts, named after Llama Boy. Now, it doesn't really matter too much if they touch, if they don't touch, whatever. But you do want to keep them kind of with a little bit of separation if possible. And what you're going to be using is, I'm using the grill setting. So if you were doing this in a regular oven, you would use the broiler setting. And that's where it's going to turn on the top broiler. And you're going to put them on a... you're going to put them on the middle rack. I did the garlic and the onions on the bottom rack because they take less heat and they have to cook for a little bit longer. So go ahead and get these on here. It's kind of, if you notice, I'm running them in the oil here, just a little bit of oil, not a lot of oil, just a little bit. And the red stuff is going to be Pandar's Revenge, because we're going to have fun naming stuff, right? So this is going to be Pandar's Revenge recipe. And we're going to put carrots. What the carrots are going to do is add a nice little bit of sweetness to the final product. So some people will add a little bit of sugar. Because we're doing a saltwater brine fermentation for a lacto fermentation, we don't want to add sugar, but carrots are a nice healthy way to add a little bit of sweet to the sauce. And it's going to help to temper it a little bit because I'm not taking the seeds out. Now if you want a sauce that's going to be a little bit easier and less hot, then you take the seeds out of the peppers. But I'm not scared. Because I'm not scared, we're going to go ahead and leave the seeds in. So we're going to take our handy dandy hot mittens. I'm going to put these bad boys right up here at the top rack. When you're doing remember, when I was doing the onions, I was using this rack here. But because we want these peppers to get nice and charred, you're not trying to cook them very long. They're just going to char. You want them to turn a little bit black, and then it's going to get to a point where the outer casing is a little bit loose, and you'll see it. You'll see it as we go here. So I'm going to start at 20 minutes. So as soon as we reach that point, I'm going to let you know. Also, it's a fair warning. If you do this with peppers in the house, the smell can be a little bit overpowering. So if you don't want to roast the peppers, don't roast the peppers, and instead skip this step and just use them as fresh peppers, which we will do tomorrow when I make the jalapeno sauce. All right, guys. See you in a bit. Alrighty guys, so, whoops. Hang on, gotta fix the perspective, I apologize. Alrighty guys, so we're back. I'm going to show you what they look like halfway through the roasting process. Go ahead and slide it on out. See how you got that nice char and the skin is a little bit fluffy? That's what you want. So now, I'm going to try to do this the smart way and not burn ourselves. We're just going to bring her on out, kill the power, and we're just going to flip them. That's it. Just a little flipperini-rooney. And this is the point also where I'm going to show you the other secret. You're going to add just a tiny little pinch of salt. Get over there, you. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and flip these. And then we're going to put them in for another 20 minutes. Alright? Actually, this was 15 minutes, so these tend to go really quick. The smaller the pepper, the less time it's got to char. But so you can see here, it's a little bit charry and the skin is a little bit loose. That's what you're looking for. And this is just going to add a nice deep flavor to the peppers. So you don't want just a hot flavor. You want a nice complex, they call it umami. So you want to add a little umami flavor, right? And roasting the peppers is a great way to get that delightful, wonderful flavor. So there's that. Also, if you want to get a mild sauce, you can use a hot pepper and just use some bell peppers or capsicum, depending on what part of the world you're in. And you can use those with the super hot pepper and it'll take some of the heat out. There we go. It's also important to note that at this point these peppers are giving off a little bit of oil, so you really don't want to touch them with your skin right now, especially if you forget and go to the bathroom, because it will burn a lot. You were warned. So, we're almost there. These are not the easiest to use tongs. In retrospect, I should have used my other ones. They work a lot better. They're a lot more user-friendly. Alright, so I'm going to do exactly what I just told you not to do, but don't do it. Okay? And if you do it, make sure you wash your hands with soap and water before you go to the bathroom. If not, well, I warned you. Good enough. Alright, so for these guys, you're just going to turn them. Simple enough. I mean, it's round, it's baby carrot, let her roll. Alright, cool. Back into the inferno. And I'm still waiting on the fermentation jar lids to arrive, so I do still have a package that's out for delivery. Hopefully it'll get here before the end of the video. Otherwise, that would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Anyway, we'll be back. Alrighty guys, so now we've got a little bit, like 10 minutes left. We're gonna move our beautifully roasted peppers, which are now down to room temperature, by the way, which is what you want. We're gonna check on them. See that? Look at that. Oh, you can't see that? I wish you could smell that, because this smells fantastic. Look at that. Carrots are roasting beautifully. Peppers are roasting beautifully. Heck yeah, man. And I just got the phone call that I've been waiting all afternoon for. Very happy. Amazon is coming and my fermentation kit will be here. So I've got everything reset, and we're going to talk about these jars just a little bit. We're going to get a little sciencey, and I apologize. So these are all sterile, and we want to keep them sterile. But when you shut them, you just want to turn them just till it stops, and then you stop. You don't want to crank down on these. You don't want to prematurely seal them on accident. So you take them out of the water, and you just leave it on loose. Now these are going to stay this way. And if you noticed with this one, if you heard it, it kind of popped out a little bit. You heard that vacuum sound? Because when you have a hot glass and a cooler lid, it's going to pull it down and it's going to vacuum seal it. And vacuum sealing it is exactly what we don't want to do right now. So now we've got our handy dandy pot of water over here. And we're going to go ahead and start the fire on it because the Amazon guy says, oh, I'm like 10 minutes away. So we're going to go ahead and fire this up, and we're going to get this back up to a rolling boil because these fermentation jar lids are going to have to be sterilized, and the weights that I'm going to be using, because you don't want your peppers to float at the top. You're only going to fill it to about here. Okay? So you put a weight on top to force everything down into the brine. And this right here is just going to get back up to a nice rolling boil, and it's still very, very hot. And this is probably almost 2 hours later. It's still really, well, hour and a half. I'll say an hour and a half. But this pan is so well insulated that it's still really, really, really ridiculously hot. So once the Amazon guy comes, we're going to do a separate video where I unbox the kitchen gadget. We'll talk a little bit about it while it's sterilizing, and we'll finish up with these peppers. I'd say another 10 minutes and all of these veggies will be nice and roasted, and they're supposed to look nice and charred. I've got the garlic, got the red onions. The red onions are a little sweet and they're a little sassy all at once. So you want them down to room temperature before you chop them. We're going to use the chopper. Get to the chopper. Well, the chopper's right there, and we're going to use the chopper. So we're going to chop up the vegetables, we're going to chop up the peppers, and we're going to do half of these and half of the peppers, and we're going to fill one jar, and we're going to do half and half for the green peppers in that jar. And then we're going to measure out, and we're going to make our salt brine, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do the math. If I did my math right, I only need to make one jar full of the brine, because it's going to be about up to here with the peppers and the veggies, and then I just need 1 cup for the brine to cover everything, if I did my math right. And again, we're using the Himalayan pink salt because that's what they had when I went. Sometimes you get lucky, you can find the kosher salt, you can find pickling salt, sea salt, as long as it's non-iodized. All good choices. I'm just waiting on the phone call from the delivery guy. He's dropping a package off right down the street, and then he'll be here. So about the time these peppers are done and this is boiling, we'll be ready to put the brand new equipment in the boiling water for 10 minutes and sterilize it. We'll be back. Alrighty, so these are the beautiful charred green peppers, as you can see. These are those gorgeous reds. So that's just about perfect. It's actually just slightly over what I was hoping to shoot for. Those came out perfect. These are just slightly overdone, which is not a big deal. It's going to taste good either way. And that's how the roasted carrots came out. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now the next step, we're going to get everything put into the chopper after it cools down to room temperature. Still waiting on the delivery guy, but he's on the way, so hopefully he'll be here soon. Oh, look at that. Almost missed a pepper. Almost missed a pepper. So water is still boiling, it's still doing its thing, it's still coming up to temperature to boil. This is cool enough to handle, so we're going to go ahead and dispose of that. There we go. And we can handle that without burning ourselves, so yay! There we go. A bit of quick cleanup. Nothing too fancy. Doesn't really need a whole lot, it's just a big drip tray. Stick that in there, close it up, turn the power off, let it cool off the rest of the way, and we push it back to its hiding hole. We'll be back in a little bit, guys. Alrighty guys, and we're back. So this is doing its thing while it's sterilizing. First step, we're going to take the scale, power it up, make sure that it's zeroed and it's level, and we're going to put an empty jar. Okay, we're going to put an empty jar, and we're going to take the weight. So that's 251 grams. Weigh it a second time, 251 grams. Weigh it a third time, 251 grams. Now to verify that we've got the correct weight, I'm going to do this twice. I got a little bit of water left in here, I'm going to pour that out. These are the two jars I'm going to be using anyway. So this one's 256. But I got a little bit of water that hasn't, see if I can pour some of that out. 256. All right, well this is a consistent 256. This is good information to know. So this is 251 grams. So this is why you have to do the calculation, because they're all going to be a little bit different, right? So I'm going to go ahead and zero this. This is doing what they call the tare function, right? So we know that this jar right here was 251 grams. So I'm going to pour this water, which is filtered water. We're going to check the weight of the previous container just for fun. It looks like there's a difference of 9 grams. But we know that this was 251 grams. So now when we put it on there, we have 364 grams of water. So we're going to go to this handy dandy calculator right over here. And we are going to grams or milliliters because we're measuring it in grams. We have 364 grams. The target brine percentage is 2.5. So there's our 2.5%, 364 grams, and the salt is measured in grams, so that's 9.1 grams. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take this lovely Himalayan pink salt. And remember, if you go just a little bit over, it's okay. But this is 364 grams. So we need to add 9.1 grams to that. So we're going to go over to our calculator because we want to make sure that we don't have any brain farts. 364 plus 9.1 equals 373.1. So we're going to add salt until this equals 373, and then we're going to add just a little tiny bit more, and this will be enough brine for everything. So we're going to, I don't want to put too much in, so we're going to do that. See how the weight's going up? So now we're at 368 grams, and we got to get to 371, right? So we're going to sprinkle that in. So there's 372. There's 372. That's all we need. That's going to be our little bit extra. And this should be enough brine for both of these. So now we're done with the math part, hopefully. And if I need to do this all over again, I can do this all over again because I've got a handy dandy scale and I've got the little unit calculator to use. So you're just going to stir this up until the salt is dissolved. There we go. The salt is going to continue to dissolve. We're going to go ahead and put the cap on this because we want to keep it as sterile as possible. And we're going to do the same. Now, this is important. When you close these lids, because I'm not going to be able to use those cool things that I bought right now, I have to get a different lid where the center part is cut out. I'm going to show you how tight you need this. It's going to turn it very lightly until it stops, and that's it. That's all the tight you need to go. You don't need to go any tighter than that. Now the weight of these two jars doesn't matter because this is the jar that we're using for our measurement. I'm going to snug this up a little bit more. We're going to shake it just to make sure that all that salt is dissolved in the solution. If you use room temperature water, you'll get a faster absorption rate. But this is all we really need. We don't need a whole lot. Now you see there's no extra salt in the bottom of that really. So we're good to go. What we have here is the llama guts. We've got half of the vegetables and some fresh brown onions. And we're going to go ahead and hit that with the chopper. We've also got some mustard seed we're going to be adding. Just a little bit, not a whole lot, just a little bit. Let's go ahead and plug this in. You just want to shred it up nicely. You don't want it too finely shredded, right? But you don't want it too loose. So you're going to grab a jar, and this is where llama guts is going. And don't worry if there's still some big chunks in there. It's okay, because in a couple of weeks before you use the sauce, we're going to be blending it through the blender, and that's going to get all the last little bit of that out. So we've got our sterilized spoon, and we're just going to double check it by dipping it in some boiling water. It's a silicone spoon, so it's not going to pick up any bacteria. But just a nice little swipe through, and we're done. So we're going to go ahead. This is the first hot sauce. You can see it takes a little bit of time, but it's not really difficult. It's not hard at all to do this. And we're going to go ahead and put these in. Remember, we want them to be about room temperature, and since these are still a little bit warm above room temperature, I'm going to use the slightly chilled water for the fermentation, but it'll be fine. So now you want to pack this down as tight as you can without so that you don't get any air bubbles. So you're just going to mash this down in there just like that. And this is going to be llama guts. All right. So now we're going to take our jar full of water, and we're going to fill this up about halfway. So we've used half of our brine solution, and you can see that everything is below, and you're just going to tap it gently, push the peppers, make sure you don't have anything above the water, because you don't want anything at all above the water. We're going to come over here to our now completely sterilized weights. We're going to very carefully fish them out. Ow, that is really hot. I just splashed almost boiling hot water on my face. On YouTube. Wonderful. Well, we post our successes and our failures because Life is all about learning, and I'm all about the learning. So we're going to put this bad boy over here where it's going to cool it. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take out the second glass weight as well, just because. And we're going to let these two bad boys kind of co-mingle and cool off. And we'll be back in a few minutes. For right now, we're just going to go ahead and loosely cap this. We've already got our solution. This is the sterile jar. So we're going to go ahead and add Pandar's Revenge. Here's all the roasted red peppers. We're going to put them all in there. We've got the leftover carrots, onion, and roasted garlic. And a little bit of that olive oil in there is not going to hurt anything, so there's a little bit of olive oil in there too. And now, we're going to do one of my favorite things, and we're going to chop this up. I'm going to grab some brown onions. These are just some pre-sliced brown onions. We don't really want to roast these. You do if they're big brown onions, but they're not. So, matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and put them all in there, because it's going to taste wonderful. And these are already a few days old, so these have almost started fermenting on their own in the refrigerator. So, winter chicken dinner, they're already rocking. We're going to go ahead and lock that in. Power tools in the kitchen are awesome. You always want to pulse it, because you want to be able to check it and see where you're at. We need a little bit more. And we're almost there. We're just going to use the spatula, smush it all back down in there. Actually, yeah, we're there. We're there. So now we're done with this. We're going to move it into the sink, where we're going to wash it later. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this here pepper mash into here. Try not to make a mess. Always remember, try not to make a mess. But we're going to put that in there. Just going to put that in there, just like so. Alright, scrape it in there. Alright, press it down, squish it down nice and tight and packed. We're going to add the other half of our solution that we've already measured, because we're awesome and we think proactively, right? And I gotta rinse this off, and I'm gonna have to sterilize this tomorrow. But that's okay, because we're gonna need a different salt brine for tomorrow. So that's okay. Rinse that out, set it off to dry. Can I touch these yet? Cool, I can almost touch them without burning myself. That's how you know you're just about right. Dump out this water. We don't want that water in there. And try it with these. Oh, that's a bad idea. That is a horrible idea. You know what? I'm just going to flip this one up so it drains also. And we'll come back in a couple minutes when it's cooled down. So while we wait for these to cool off, we've got batch ID number 001. That's llama guts. And we're just going to go ahead and put the label on. And you want to put your start date so you can keep track of it, right? That's part of the magic of fermentation. You got to stay organized. As long as you stay organized, you won't have any issues whatsoever. You don't forget. We're humans. Humans forget. It's okay. That's what being human means. We make mistakes and we forget stuff. So this weight has cooled off to where I can pretty much handle it now. So we're going to go ahead. Oops. Hang on. There we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the weight in, and the weight is just going to hold the pepper mash. Whoops. There we go. All right. It's also important to note you don't want to fill it all the way up to the top because you have to leave room for the gas to expand. So we're just going to turn it till it stops and then stop right there. So this is the first one. We have llama guts. And this is the second one, Pandar's Revenge. As you can see, I took a little bit of water out of one of them and put them into the other one to just kind of balance the water a little bit more. But we're just going to lower that in. And that's it. We're not going to worry about the floaters at the top too much. It's just going to do what it's going to do. And that's all she wrote, guys. So hopefully, I'm going to keep these up here. I'll move them around as I need to. But hopefully tomorrow, we'll get some of that beautiful fermentation action going. You can see, I want you guys to pay attention, how it's more or less pretty crystal clear. And the water's going to clear up a little bit. But tomorrow, it's going to start to bubble and get cloudy. And then within a couple more days, it's going to get more cloudy. And then it'll be just, you know, doing its thing. And basically, when all of the bubbles stop coming up, that's when you're done. And you can let it go a little bit longer if you want, or you can stop right there if you want. That's the beautiful thing about this. You can do it however you want. So, until the next episode, this is Byron from ETA Kitchen, and hopefully you guys have learned something. Alright guys, so here we are, day 2, and you can see that this one, the llama guts, it's got some activity. It's already starting to roll. That's good. And you can see how it's a little bit cloudy compared to how it looked last night. That's a good sign. That means that these are fermenting. So now we're going to go ahead and get it set up with the proper fermentation lids since I ordered the new ones and they got delivered. See you in a bit.